Hello, everyone, and welcome to the movie show. I'm your host, Tyler Calkins, and today we're going to be doing a video. It's not a review, it's not a reaction. Today I'm going to be doing my top 10 movies of 2019. I know I'm a little late to this party because we're about to the end of January 2020, but that being said, I finally wanted to shoot this and get this up because I do have some thoughts on what my favorite movies were of last year, especially as we lead up to the end of award season and the Oscars coming up. Obviously, not all of my movies are Oscar movies, but still, I think it's relevant. So let's dive right in. I'm going to start with, I'm going to start from the lowest and rank it up to the top. I do want to mention some of the movies that I thought were just right outside the top 10 for me this year. There was still some really honorable mentions, I'll call them. There were still some really remarkable films. They just didn't strike the top 10 for me. They didn't reach this level this year for me. The films that I would say were in my random other categories, my honorable mentions, just outside the top 10, and I'm not going to rank these, I just want to throw them out there. I felt like A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood was a phenomenal movie with a great performance from Tom Hanks. I thought Stuber was hilarious. I thought Camille Nanjiani, I think is his name, and obviously Dave Bautista were just hilarious. They were absolutely hilarious. That movie was perfectly enjoyable. Another movie I loved this year was Zombieland 2. It was nice to get that cast back together and hang out with those guys again in another zombie adventure. Really cool stuff. I really enjoyed Dr. Sleep. It maybe pushed the envelope a little too far for some people, but I really, really enjoyed it and thought it was a fantastic sequel to The Shining, a movie, The Shining, that I didn't really love, but I did enjoy Dr. Sleep, so I thought really great job there. Also, Godzilla King of the Monsters. I really the story could have been a little bit better, but man, those monsters fighting was just so cool. I so enjoyed that. Really great stuff. So those would be kind of my honorable mention, top 15 that didn't quite make the cut. But let's dive into it. Let's start with number 10. And my number 10 movie, I really struggled because originally I had Zombieland in this spot. But ultimately, there was a movie this year that I appreciated more for getting the gang back together, and it had just a little bit more to it. And that's going to be The Irishman by Martin Scorsese. It was great to see the gang back together. Al Pacino. Al Pacino's not typically a part of that gang, but we'll call him an honorary member of that crew. But particularly Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci. It's just fantastic. The fact that we get those three back together again, making work, Goodfellas, Casino. Now you got The Irishman. Let's call it the De Niro Pesci trilogy, if you will. Just, fantastic to see that crew back together again. And a movie that was, maybe not the best film of the year, in my opinion, but is deserving of praise just because of the ambitions that Martin Scorsese had with, telling a character's story for a huge chunk of this character's life, from the time that he was a young man in the war up until when he basically almost dies. So I think that's ambitious to cover that much of somebody's life in one movie. I mean, again, the runtime justifies it. It's a 3.5-hour film, but it never feels like it's bogged down by that 3.5-hour runtime. It really has great pacing throughout the film where you're always engaged throughout the entire film, and it does not lose your interest because it's running too long. Next on my category is going to be Bombshell in the number 9 spot. So number 9 is Bombshell. I thought Bombshell was a really fantastic study of power dynamics and female empowerment in a workplace, while also female disempowerment in a workplace, harassment, abuse. I think it was a great story about the downfall of Roger Ailes and how somebody like that will lie through their teeth, and you can only let them lie through their teeth first before you present evidence that proves that they're wrong, and that's where they lose their credibility. And I thought that piece of it was brilliant in the film. I also thought the film was powered incredibly by performances from not just Charlize Theron, who is transformative and transformational as Megyn Kelly in that film, but also Nicole Kidman does a fantastic job as Gretchen Carlson, certainly great, but even better than that, Margot Robbie as, and I forget the character's name, but she's this plucky 20-year-old trying to make it in the news business. And she really great stuff, and really great dynamics between Margot Robbie and the person who plays her friend. Kate McKinnon plays her friend in the film, and Kate McKinnon does a great job. I love Kate McKinnon. So she does a great job playing her friend. Really just a great film. My number 8 on the list is the return of Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems. I really can't... Okay, so here's what's weird about Uncut Gems. I took my mother and my grandmother, and I don't know if this is the type of movie you should be taking your grandmother or your mother to see. I heard it's also got the 7th most F words in any film before, so I think that maybe it's not for, taking your parents. But that said, I really, really enjoyed the film. I love the dynamics of it showing the desperation that comes along when you are sports gambling. and where, I need this player to get this extra point to make enough money to win this bet, to whatever the case may be. I've never seen a movie capture that in the way that it has, like this film does. I think the score in the film was absolutely phenomenal. This Vangelis 80s type of score that is just like synth and fantastic. If you have not listened to the score yet, at least do that, because it's really cool. There is some like psychedelic parts of the film that really didn't add up or make any sense to me in those pieces. Maybe the score was kind of, pushing that along, but ultimately the score itself is fantastic and plays well throughout the film. Adam Sandler's performance is, I was really down on Adam Sandler. I was over him just because I felt like he was just writing awful comedy after awful comedy, and I just was not interested anymore. So I definitely had set him down and not watched any of his stuff in a long time. But that said, this drama, Adam Sandler, I absolutely adore, and I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was ridiculous. I couldn't, stand what his character was doing as this person with a serious gambling problem. But his performance and me making him loathe him was absolutely perfect on his part. Great work from Adam Sandler. And number 7 on my list is going to be It Chapter 2. I know a lot of people who, or at least the reviews, were like meh on this film, and I honestly don't understand it. I thought that this film was a fantastic continuation of that original, film that we got. And to me, it was a good continuation in the fact that these aren't kids anymore. These guys are adults. And how do you carry that childhood trauma into adulthood? They did a great job of telling that kind of story, but also resolving the story in that way. I also loved the cast, obviously. Not just they did a great job casting the first film with these young kids, and then to get such an amazing cast again with the adult cast that not only does a good job in their own performances, but does a fantastic job of trying to, in some ways, emulate the adult versions of these kids. It's just remarkable what they were able to do with this film. And also, spoiler alert, real quick, small spoiler, I got chills in that scene in the Chinese restaurant. I won't say what happens, but I got chills in that scene in the Chinese restaurant. It was fantastic, the reveal of that. There was a number of shocking twists throughout the film, which I really enjoyed. Again, I didn't read the book. I didn't really pay attention to the miniseries when I was a kid. It just wasn't something that gravitated to me. I might have been a little too young. But that said, I felt like It Chapter 2 was just a fantastic wrapping up of that It story. I don't necessarily need more of them, because I feel like that's going to kind of cheapen the prestige of It. I understand why Warner Brothers wants to put out more of this and make it almost like a franchise, but I really hope they avoid that, because there's something special, in my opinion, about these two movies together. The first movie is like almost like you're telling campfire stories when you're a kid. That reminded me of that kind of piece of my childhood, and this adult version kind of reminded me of growing up and dealing with that trauma, and I just thought it was absolutely fantastic. Number 6 on this category is Little Women. I think this movie I think Greta Gerwig knocked it out of the park with this movie. I didn't like Greta Gerwig's first go out, Lady Bird. I watched it, I enjoyed it. I felt like maybe it was a little too much of a story of mother and daughter that didn't fully resonate with me fully, just because I'm not a daughter. I do have a mother, obviously, who I love very dearly. But I'm not a daughter, so I don't get that specific dynamic as say Lady Bird. But that said, her work in this movie in Little Women is just absolutely incredible. And I've mentioned it, before in some other videos, but the fact that she was able to tell this very old Civil War story that has been told numerous times before by numerous different artists, numerous different writers and directors, the fact that she was able to put her own spin on it, give it some flashbacks, update the story a little bit, make it relevant to today, was just absolutely fantastic. I just think she deserves all the credit in the world for writing and directing the movie. I want to be fully clear here. Not only did she write this amazing story and give us everything we wanted there, but her direction on the film, the shots, the cinematography, just Greta Gerwig, fantastic. You were snubbed for Best Director this year. It's a travesty. I hope the Academy doesn't continue to make these mistakes, because a film like this absolutely deserves that praise. It's not going to win Best Picture. Again, the Academy just not awarding these films as they should. But my God, great work, Greta Gerwig. Everybody should go watch this movie. It is absolutely fantastic. Number 5 on my list is going to be Rocket Man. For me, it's just really everything that a musical is supposed to be about. It is big, it is lavish, it is spectacle. It is Taron Egerton's performance in this movie as Elton John that is just absolutely fantastic. He sings his own songs, he plays a little bit of the piano. There's an amazing scene where he walks out in this one costume that's like orange. It's like a phoenix rising from the ashes. It is just, the whole movie is fantastic. And I really feel like it's being under-respected and underpraised this year, just because people feel like it's just like a puff project or whatever. It's just like a money project, which I think is just garbage. I thought this movie was just just fantastic and what a musical is always supposed to be. My number 4 movie of the year is the highest grossing film of all time, Avengers Endgame. I can't, I think I've said it a million times and I will say it again. This film is unique and it is special because it's a culmination of this. It's never happened before and I don't know if it'll ever happen again, where you have this whole wave of support. Yes, Iron Man was fantastic. Yes, the first Avengers blew our mind. But to have this be a buildup of 22 films, we're getting to the end here, 22 films, and this is the 22nd. To have a whole audience, come along on that journey, episode by episode, movie by movie, and to just continue on and then to culminate in such a way. I don't know how they did it, to be honest. It's incredible. It's impossible what they did. And also too, and I mean, everyone's seen it, so I'll call spoiler alert, but I'm sure you've seen it. The Avengers Assemble scene is just so earned. Oh my God, I've never seen a scene so earned in my life, but it gives you chills. It's given me chills every time I've watched it because the portals open and the people show up and Avengers Assemble and the score hits. I mean, I'm not even the biggest Marvel fan. I feel like sometimes they get overpraised, but how could you not praise that scene and that movie? It was just great. As a superhero fan, it's everything that you want. It was hard for me to place these top 3, I gotta be honest. Specifically 2 and 3, because I really wavered which one was a little better, which one was a little, worse, whatever the case, and I ultimately had to make some tough calls. So number 3 on my list, but it's still a remarkable film this year, Knives Out by Rian Johnson. I think he deserves all the credit in the world. I've never had a director 180 it for himself like that with me before, because I have to be honest, I didn't love Rian Johnson after The Last Jedi. I felt The Last Jedi as a fan, wasn't what I wanted. And I know that you're not supposed to go into movies with expectations of this is what I want the film to be, but I think it's a Star Wars movie, so I think that's what we go into it with. And yes, we can have some surprises and stuff, but we as Star Wars fans kind of enjoy what we enjoy. That's what we like about it. So, I think Rian Johnson kind of did his own thing on Star Wars in a too cutesy kind of way that I didn't love. And it made me, not love him as a director for that movie. That said, here he comes with Knives Out a couple years later, and this movie is just everything that you want in a murder mystery. I mean, it pulls the rug out right from underneath you 20, 30 minutes into the movie, and at that point you're like, wait, so where's the rest of this movie supposed to go? It is absolutely just stunning what he was able to do. And again, I think it just speaks to, and I said it in my non-spoiler review, I think it speaks to, where Rian Johnson was zagging for his Star Wars movie. His style there works so much better with original properties, because I absolutely adored this movie. I saw it 3 times and it was great each and every time I watched it. The performance, the cast is fantastic. You've got Jamie Lee Curtis, you've got, I think, Don Johnson, I think you've got Michael Shannon, you've got the kid from It, you've got the girl from 13 Reasons Why, you've got Ana de Armas, who was phenomenal in Blade Runner 2049, even better in this movie. And then you've got Daniel Craig playing Benoit Blanc with this ridiculous Southern accent. He is just fabulously charming and great as a detective, and a really good detective at that. I mean, again, it's almost like modern day Clue. It is everything that you want from a murder mystery movie, and Rian Johnson should just be applauded and congratulated because he did a great job. My number 2 movie of the year is Rise of Skywalker. I just absolutely love and adore that movie. I really do. I am so impressed with what J.J. Abrams was able to do, given the divisiveness of the fan base after The Last Jedi, given the passing of Carrie Fisher, given the limitations that he had as far as where the story needed to go. He really kind of took everything that was disparate and random and spread out, and to me, put it right where it needed to go and got everything pieced where it needed to be, and really kind of finished off the trilogy in the best possible ways. Not just the trilogy, but the saga. Now, while I personally don't believe the Star Wars Skywalker saga is over, and I think we will get at some point at least episode 10, if not 10, 11, and 12, I feel like what JJ was able to do with this movie and to really kind of land the ship, he landed the Falcon, if you will, in tumultuous times. I'm so happy with what he did. And I will say this as well. It was one of the most emotional Star Wars films that I have ever watched, which I will always thank JJ for. I've never cried as much watching a Star Wars movie as I did watching this one. And thank you, JJ, for giving me some of those scenes that just, I didn't know how badly I needed them, and then when I saw them, I did. And thank you for that, because they were just incredible. And ladies and gentlemen, the film in the number one spot, I'm going to give it away in maybe some other videos I've done, but the film in the number one spot for me is Joker. There's no two ways around. I was watching it last night again. I've seen it maybe 5 or 6 times. It is absolutely phenomenal, this movie. It's not just the performance of Joaquin Phoenix, which is, of course, like right here. Like, here's Heath Ledger, here's Joaquin Phoenix in his own lane doing the same thing up to the same bar. It really is fantastic. But it is the final 20 minutes of that movie, which are absolute fire and it really just, like, almost like it's not fan servicey, but it's shocking. There's twists. And then it's also what they do to the mythology of the Batman and Joker characters throughout the film, or the Bruce Wayne Joker characters throughout the film. It tells the story of a commentary on society, not just then, but today. It's so relevant to right now. It deserves all the awards praise that it's getting, because it really is just this great film. The score is phenomenal, the direction, the cinematography, the shots within the film. I can't talk enough about how much I love this film this year. I really feel like it is, without question, the most relevant and best picture of the year, bar none. So those are my thoughts on the top 10 movies of 2019. What are your thoughts? Go ahead, comment your list down below. Tell me what are your favorite movies of 2019. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell to the top. That way you don't miss any of my new content. As always, thank you for watching. We'll see you soon.